People on that flight thought she was nothing. Just a simple woman in worn-out clothes, carrying an old handbag that looked older than the airplane itself. They mocked her, whispered behind her back, and some even asked the flight attendants to remove her because she didn't look like she belonged in first class. But what none of them knew was that this woman, the one they laughed at, wasn't just allowed to be in first class. She owned the entire airline. And when her identity was revealed at 30,000 feet, one man's life changed forever. Before we dive into this emotional and gripping story, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe to Tales and Turns for more unbelievable real-life twists. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments. We love seeing our community from all over the world! Now, let's begin. She boarded the plane quietly, wearing a simple beige shawl, her hair tied back, and shoes slightly scuffed from the long morning she had already endured. To most people around her, she looked like someone who had mistakenly walked into the wrong part of the airport, let alone first class. She clutched a handwritten itinerary, something almost no one used anymore, and gently took her seat by the window. But as soon as she sat down, a man in a sharp blue suit glanced at her, raised an eyebrow, and scoffed loudly enough for her to hear. "Unbelievable," he muttered. The woman didn't react. She simply folded her hands in her lap and stared out the window, absorbing the quiet humiliation as if she had lived through moments like this many times before. Two women seated across the aisle exchanged looks, whispering behind polished nails and expensive perfume. "She clearly can't afford this seat," one of them said, forgetting she wasn't whispering at all. "They really let anyone in first class now." Another passenger pressed the call button and complained that the poor-looking lady was making him uncomfortable. The flight attendant, a young man named Aram, walked toward her with uncertainty. He didn't want to embarrass anyone, but the pressure from entitled passengers was pushing him. "Mom," he said as softly as he could, "may I see your boarding pass again?" She smiled gently and handed it over. Aram checked it twice, unable to understand why a first-class ticket was printed on such old paper, with a signature instead of a barcode. Still, it matched the seat number. But the suited man wasn't having it. "This is ridiculous," he snapped. "She probably faked it. Look at her. She doesn't belong here." His voice grew louder and more aggressive, as if humiliating her made him feel taller. The woman sat calmly, offering no defense, no explanation, no anger. She simply said, "I'm fine. Let him speak." That sentence only fueled the man further. "See? That's the attitude. She doesn't even understand what first-class service is like. She should be moved." Aram swallowed uncomfortably and asked the woman if she wanted to relocate to avoid confrontation. She gently shook her head. "No, son. Some storms are worth sitting through." The murmurs spread through the section, carrying judgment like wildfire. People photographed her quietly, convinced they were capturing a scandal, not realizing they were documenting their own arrogance. The flight supervisor was called in, a stern woman with years of experience dealing with entitled passengers. She approached the simple woman and asked again if everything was all right. The woman nodded with the same gentle calm. "I assure you I am exactly where I am meant to be." Her tone was so steady, so confident, that even the supervisor hesitated. Still, the pressure of angry passengers, especially the suited man, who claimed he would file a complaint, forced her to consider moving the woman to business class for her comfort. Even though everyone knew it wasn't really for her comfort at all. As the supervisor reached out her hand to escort the woman away, something unexpected happened. A tall, older gentleman wearing a pilot's uniform stepped out from the cockpit area, not because he had been called, but because he had overheard the commotion. His presence immediately silenced the chaos. The captain, known among staff as Captain Riemann, scanned the area, his eyes finally landing on the simple woman. The moment he recognized her, his posture changed. He straightened, stepped closer, and then, to the shock of everyone watching, saluted her. Not a small nod, not a polite greeting. A full military-style salute filled with respect that made the entire cabin freeze. "Mom," he said with a voice that carried authority. "My apologies for the delay in recognizing you. Our staff should have informed me the chairwoman was on board." Every whisper died instantly. The suited man's face turned pale. People who had mocked her suddenly stared at her in disbelief. The simple woman, the one they had tried to kick out, was the owner of the airline. Not just a wealthy passenger. Not just a VIP. The woman who controlled the company they were flying with. Her signature on the boarding pass suddenly made sense. She didn't need a digital ticket. She approved the tickets. The supervisor panicked, apologizing repeatedly. RM stood frozen, horrified that he had doubted her. But the woman placed a comforting hand on his arm. "You did nothing wrong," she said kindly. "You treated me according to the rules. Kindness is what matters, not status." She then turned to the suited man, who was shrinking into his seat, unable to meet her eyes. Instead of scolding him, she simply said, "A person's worth isn't measured by clothing, but by character. Remember that before judging someone else." Her voice wasn't angry. It was calm, wise, and steady. That made the lesson hit even harder. The cabin fell silent with shame. But the moment that changed everything came next. The simple woman asked Aram, the one who showed the most respect despite pressure, to walk with her to the cockpit. Passengers whispered again, but this time with curiosity and regret rather than judgment. In the cockpit, she made an announcement that left the young flight attendant speechless. She wanted him to be part of a new leadership training program she was personally launching. "People like you," she said, "are the future of this company. People who treat others with patience, dignity, and fairness." Aram's eyes filled with tears. "Mom, why me?" She smiled softly. "Because before they learned who I was, you were the only one who treated me like a human being." When the plane landed, cameras flashed and staff lined up to greet her. But she didn't walk out first. She stepped aside and let Aram walk out beside her. A gesture so powerful it would stay with him forever. The passengers who mocked her couldn't even lift their eyes. The suited man tried to apologize, but she simply said, "Your apology belongs to yourself. Learn from this." That day, Aram's life changed forever. He went from a nervous junior flight attendant to a respected leader in the airline, guided by the woman who taught everyone on that flight. Some with kindness, some through consequence. That humility is the highest form of wisdom. And as the simple woman stepped into her car, her old handbag still hanging from her shoulder, she whispered a quiet truth that echoed louder than anything spoken during the flight. Never underestimate anyone. God tests us by the way we treat those who seem to have nothing.